The Connecticut campaign seeking his freedom will be having an event celebrating the nomination and protesting his detention on Sunday, March 1st at 3 p.m.
But in Beit Sahor today, there is currently a huge settlement being built, and about, I think, over 200 acres are being annexed de facto by this new settlement. This is another new illegal settlement in Palestinian territory.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to the Struggle Video News. Here's the call for the Sunday afternoon, February 22nd, rally in Hartford, Connecticut to protest 4 years of the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Connecticut stands with Ukraine, February 22nd at 1:30 p.m. We're all waiting for you who supports Ukraine here at the Capitol in Hartford, Connecticut. We'll be all here gathering together for peaceful rally to mark 4 years of full-scale war against Ukraine. We'll have a lot of representatives, guests, and the Ukrainian community of Connecticut. Please come and join us. We need your voice more than ever. Thank you so much, as always, for supporting Ukraine all these years. God bless Ukraine. God bless America. Шановна громада штату Connecticut, вже 20...
A few photos from last year's protest. Note that U.S. aid to Ukraine is down to almost nothing. Trump won't give Ukraine anything now. What he does is sell weapons to European countries, and they either give the weapons or loan the money to Ukraine to buy those weapons. More about Ukraine at pepeace.org. This heartbreaking picture from Havana, Cuba this week. Without fuel, the government can't run trucks for garbage collection. This has led to outbreaks of deadly mosquito-borne diseases that can't be controlled because, again, there's no fuel for fumigation trucks. The oil blockade is murderous. Now to Palestine. Abducted and imprisoned Dr. Abu Safiya was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize at the end of January. The Connecticut campaign seeking his freedom will be having an event celebrating the nomination and protesting his detention on Sunday, March 1st at 3 p.m. at the Palestine Museum US. The main speaker will be Dr. Karama Kumerly, a medical doctor from a prominent hospital in Boston, who was co-founder of Doctors Against Genocide. More details coming on the site, freedrabusafiya.org. And here's a fashion accessory for everyone, a button calling for freedom for Dr. Abu Safiya. Another American citizen killed by Israel.
المستوطنين لما شافوا الجيش طبعا اتشجعوا وصاروا يضربوا في رصاص حي على الشباب، ما ادى الى اصابه 5 شباب واستشهاد الشاب والمصابين والشهيد على الارض. المستوطنين طبعا انهالوا عليهم بالضرب بالهروات وبالعصي وهم على الارض، يعني لا حول ولا قوه الهم يعني. فالنتيجه كانت شهيد و5 اصابات.
هؤلاء في مقتبل العمر، لم يكن هناك جريمه، وكان المؤسف جدا ان يكون ذلك بحماية وتدخل لصالح المستوطنين من جيش الاحتلال.
Now, a disgusting official Israeli video showing National Security Minister Ben-Gvir lording over and humiliating Palestinian prisoners just before Ramadan. He said, "It is simply a source of pride arriving at a prison like this, a prison for terrorists, the vilest of the vile, seeing them like this. I want one more thing, to execute them, the death penalty for terrorists." And he supports a bill moving through the Knesset that would do just that, execute captives after torture and sham confessions. This moral outrage coming from a government that killed 20,000 Palestinian children. Last week we showed you the first part of an interview I did with 3 Americans who were visiting, witnessing what life is like in the West Bank. It was a Catholic worker tour. One thing that was discussed was the idea of Christian Zionism, the idea that the state of Israel must be supported unquestionably as part of God's plan. Jessica Sun talked about a large group of Christian Zionists who were in Israel at that time, who did not meet with a single Palestinian. Do Christian Zionists go to Bethlehem?
They do. So even on Christian Zionist trips, you can't cover up the fact that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And a tour bus will go straight into Bethlehem, which is in the West Bank and is Palestinian territory, and is, of course, under occupation, like every other Palestinian territory in the West Bank. And these tour buses will make a these tour buses will make a straight beeline for Bethlehem, and then to Tivy Church, and then a straight beeline back out. Actually, right now in Bethlehem, in the area called Beit Sahor. Now, Beit Sahor is literally translated to the shepherd's field. It's where Christians honor that the angels appeared to the shepherds, telling them of Jesus' birth. But in Beit Sahor today, there is currently a huge settlement being built, and about, I think, over 200 acres are being annexed de facto by this new settlement. This is another new illegal settlement in Palestinian territory. And it's cutting the Bethlehem community in half. An already terrorized community, Palestinians in Bethlehem, are facing hunger. Over 90% of the Bethlehem economy in particular relies on tourism. And after 2 years of COVID and 2 years of the live stream Israeli genocide of the Palestinians, tourism has dropped by 90%. Palestinians are in desperate need of international protection and international presence, from tourism in Bethlehem to, for those who are able to take more risk, to go to areas that settlers are attacking. But right now we're seeing de facto annexation of the entire West Bank by an Israeli government that is showing its true colors.
Yeah, and I maybe just to add to that in terms of the Christian presence, Mike Huckabee is the ambassador, as many know, to Israel, and he actually visited when we were there in Taipei. He visited, which is another story. But this is a man who, he's a Christian Zionist. He's like a whatever they call a born again Christian. And he wears that on his sleeve. He literally denies the existence of Palestinian Christians. He denies it, that they even exist. Taipei, by the way, almost all of the homes in that city are, as we were told, are owned by Christians for thousands of years. Taipei is, if you read the New Testament, Taipei is the city of Ephraim, where Jesus actually went and hid out when the authorities were trying to kill him, as it says in the Gospel of John. Now, the priest, the Catholic priest who Father what's his name? Father
Bashar.
Father Bashar, yes, a very humble man who and very gifted priest, as far as I could tell, gave us a talk. And one of the things that he mentioned prominently was that that city is the only place left on the planet, the only Christian community left on the planet where the original Christians did not hear the gospel message from the disciples. They heard it from Christ himself. And here we have a prominent U.S. Christian politician who not only denies that Palestinian Christianity is a thing, not to mention the fact that Jesus was Palestinian, but that the kind of oppression, the atrocities being committed against these folks can't even leave the city. I mean, they can't walk outside the city. Um, they can't access even the water spring, which is just a kilometer or two from the city.
So if you're in Beit Sahur, you can't get to Bethlehem?
No, I'm talking about Taipei now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the situation. The effort here is to, with regard to the Christian population there, is just to erase them, similar to Palestinians in general, And I mean, as a kind of Christian-based group going there, we felt that was really important to take that back with us. The kind of propaganda that has swept away the theology and the morality, the moral compass of the Christian churches in the United States is just breathtaking when you experience these things.
Kairos Palestine in 2025 released their second document. Kairos Palestine is a Palestinian Christian initiative. And their first document they released in 2009. And this is arguably the first ecumenical document in Christian history since maybe the schism, the Great Schism and everything. So the magnitude of what's going on, even within Christian politics, is huge and cannot be understated. But in Kairos Palestine 2009, they released their first document as a faithful one, a cry of hope, a cry of love, a cry of peace, a cry of justice for the Palestinian Christians suffering in Palestine, knowing that Palestinian Christians are the direct descendants of the first followers of Jesus. These are the people who brought the gospel to the rest of the world, right? And so in 2025, late 2025, Kairos Palestine released their second document. And in this document, they talked about how this is the last time Palestinian Christians will speak to the world because the Palestinian Christian community is dying. It is collapsing. Rafat Assis, the main coordinator of Kairos Palestine, told to us the experience of waiting to be ethnically cleansed is unbearable. I can say that it makes life unbearable. And in January 1st this year, Kairos Palestine released another document specifically rebuking sectarian advocacy, saying that before I am a Christian, I am first a human. I'm a Palestinian. I'm a son of this land. I am then a Christian, and then I'm a priest. And that's what Father Bashar of Taipei says. Taipei is biblical Ephraim, where Jesus sought refuge after persecution in Jerusalem when he raised Lazarus from the dead. Jesus was a refugee in Taipei. Palestinian Christians continue to try to protect this land. So, this important document from Kairos Palestine, Faith in a Time of Genocide, released in late 2025, talks about what the churches need to do. And that is to not mince words, to use the word genocide, to use the right words of settler colonialism, apartheid. One thing Rifat also said to us, many Christians, they say they are speaking truth to power, but no, they are compromising with power. In order to be a Christian, you must call a spade a spade. He also said to us that you Americans, specifically, you cannot be neutral because you are funding this. Rafat Assis also said to us when we met with him at the YMCA in Bethlehem that he said, I know this language is strong, maybe even impolite, but the Palestinian Christian community in Palestine is collapsing. Our cries for solidarity from our Christian brothers and sisters around the world has not been heard. This is our last cry before we collapse.
You were talking
Talk
about
about
travel.
Taiba and Victoria. Go ahead.
You were asking a question about travel, and I don't know how, in your imagination, maybe you can see a city like New Haven, and what if there were gates at most of the biggest intersections? Gates that can be closed arbitrarily, randomly, by any settler who feels like closing the gate, by a soldier, by an Israeli police officer who feels like closing the gate. Let's say a 19-year-old soldier with a rifle has just broken up with his girlfriend. He's having a bad day, going to close the gate. Nobody can get through until they feel like letting people through. A 10-minute or 20-minute car ride could take 2 or 3 hours, and has for several of the people that we met, has on a regular basis taken 2 hours, 3 hours, had to set aside an entire day, not knowing if they would go to the next town where their mother lives and be allowed back that night.
Yes.
Or any several days.
Yeah, and the checkpoints, as you're well describing there, Victoria, there are 900 of them, as we were told, in the West Bank. Okay, and if you had the the courage to watch the killing on video of Renee Good a week and a half ago, then you get a sense of what these checkpoints are like. It's, in fact, it was very scary to me to see that in Minnesota, because it's exactly the playbook that has been used in against the Palestinians for 80 years. Namely, that at these checkpoints, they murder somebody with impunity, usually not on film. Um, and then they injure somebody, shoot somebody, whatever, and then they deny medical treatment. The ambulances are not allowed to get near the victim. Okay, and they call that security reasons. Well, this is the exact same kind of violence and atrocity and impunity that is literally being during these past few weeks is being exported and implemented in our own communities. And along with what you were saying, Victoria, I live in the poorest neighborhood in New Haven, and I'm just waiting. I fully expect in the next few years there's going to be checkpoints here getting in and out. That you're not, there's going to be checkpoints. This is it's a program. Apartheid, Israeli apartheid and occupation is a program. And the reason that the world is so concerned about this outside of the United States is because the average citizen outside of the United States can see this coming. They can see it. Okay. We are completely blind to it for the most part. And so, it's this notion that there's violence over there, thank God we're not, we don't experience it here. I mean, it is exactly the program that is now being implemented in this country.
And there a phrase, chickens coming home to roost.
Yeah, I remember how upset everybody was with that back in the 60s. It's
So you went
literally
to Masa for Yatta, I understand. Could you talk about that, Victoria or anyone?
In Masa the land that was made more well known through the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, continues to be under attack. There was an uptick in violence beginning in around summer 2024. And on July 25th, 2025, a few months before we were there, The kind-hearted, soft-spoken, beloved Alda Hathlin was murdered at point-blank range by Israeli settler Yanon Levy. We stood on the spot where Alda was killed in Al-Her, one of the hamlets, one of the villages of Masafer Yatta. Alda's brother, Tariq, spoke to us, saying that they think by killing us shepherds, we're simple farmers, but by killing us, by killing my brother, that they will frighten us into leaving. But no, the fact that the blood of my brother is spilled on this land means I have an even stronger connection to the land. What happens to my heart when I look into the tender eyes of a frightened 2-year-old boy, the son of Auda Hathaline, this 2-year-old boy who no longer speaks? What happens when you teach a young man like Yanon Levy that no consequences applied to him after he murders somebody? The shepherds in Al-Her are forced to even spray paint their goats. I have a picture of the 13 goats that they still have that are spray painted. They used to have 200. But the settlers that illegally settle on their land come and they mix their herds with the Bedouins' herds and steal their sheep, steal their resources, pillage, take from the Palestinians on their own land. Next question. Jessica, let me give you the last word. Are there more trips planned? If people want to bear witness, what can they do? Yes, there is continued desperate need of international presence, especially at this moment. Friends of Sabila North America is a great place to go to connect. They are happy to accommodate a very wide range of folks, from folks like our Catholic Worker Delegation that really wanted to be in deeper solidarity and were ready to take on levels of risk, to those who want to go for tourism, and that's the risk they can take, and that's what they're able to do. That is so desperately needed and wanted in Palestinian-owned communities in Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Very safe to go. Tent of Nations, in particular in Bethlehem, continues to host international presence, and they really need it for any number of days. So if you can stay longer, if you can stay for a shorter amount of time, whatever you're able to do. But Friends of the Bill of North America will be able to connect you to the right people, listen to your risk assessment and what you're hoping to do, and go from there. The Tent of Nations is an excellent community. They are beloved for many reasons. And they have a few slogans and messages to the world, and one of them is we refuse to be enemies under unimaginable circumstances. In my lifetime, I will never have to prove love for neighbor as a Christian, as the way the Nasser family does at Ten of Nations, every day in and day out. Refusing to dehumanize their oppressor, refusing to dehumanize themselves, and finding ways to creatively and nonviolently resist. Friends of Sabila North America and Sabila are both rooted in the universal ethic of nonviolence as the Center for Ecumenical Palestinian Liberation Theology. Continuing on the point of Ten of Nations as well, there were about 9 European internationals who were there with us. One from Sweden talked about how she thinks it's just ridiculous that a white European presence is needed for Palestinians to feel safe on their own land at all. An elder German woman also spoke to us about why she was there. She said that in Germany in the 70s, when the NIF and the mafia were in power, everybody said it was dangerous. But even so, people still came. People still came and were with the people of Germany in the 70s. And she said, that's why I'm here now in Bethlehem at Ten of Nations in Palestine. And this elder German woman told us that she finds it very, very frustrating that the German media won't talk about Palestine. And as a US American, I can very much relate.
So, what are some places that we haven't mentioned yet that you visited?
Well, I was going to mention, on maybe a hope, and there was a lot of hope. Where everywhere we went, we found a lot of hope in the people, and in particularly in what they're doing. One example of that would be the neighborhood called Silwan, which is part of Jerusalem. It's just below the old city. If you've never been there, Jerusalem's kind of up on a hill, and if you go down just down the hill, there's this huge neighborhood, and it's mostly hills as well, called Silwan. Actually, this is again, if you read the Gospels, there's a famous healing. There's a blind man by the pool of Siloam, whom Jesus heals. And that's the name. That the pool of Siloam reputedly is there in that neighborhood. And so that's what we're talking about there. Anyway, the home demolitions, and again, this was my third trip to Palestine. First time I went was in '09 with another Catholic worker delegation, and we visited that same neighborhood. And at that point, they had just started accelerating the demolition of homes based on the pretext of archaeology. Like basically, part of the program of Israel, of the Israeli government, is, and as it was described colloquially, or in the local, some of the local folks described it as they're trying to build, a Disney World Bible on a graveyard. That's sort of the plan. So part of this is conjuring up all this propaganda based on archaeology, and so they use archaeological digs, or they did back then anyway, as a pretext for demolishing people's homes and taking them by eminent domain.
You know what we've been reporting about Iran. Hopefully, Trump won't attack, giving Iranians the opportunity to overthrow their cruel regime. This piece in the New York Times explains that Trump doesn't even think Americans deserve to be told the reasons for a new war. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for the Struggle Video News.